Home Designer software is our software line for DIY home enthusiasts, and Chief Architect is our software line for professional designers. The Chief Architect line offers our highest level of automation and efficiency to produce photorealistic 3D renderings and construction documents faster and in more detail. There are hundreds of feature differences between the two software lines, and in this session we will be looking at the major features gained when upgrading from Home Designer to Chief Architect. In the Chief Architect line, there are two software options, Chief Architect Premier and Chief Architect Interiors. Chief Architect Premier is our flagship program and includes all of the tools and features of the Interiors version, plus more. Chief Architect Interiors is a subset of Chief Architect Premier and has all the same tools for kitchen, bath, cabinetry, and interior design as the Premier version, while excluding framing and exterior features such as decks and terrain. There's a lot of content covered in this session, and if you're interested in the features gained in a specific area of the software, feel free to skip ahead to the noted timestamp. Additionally, a PDF is available on the Home Designer website that compares all of the feature differences between Chief Architect and Home Designer. And a free trial of both programs is available at chiefarchitect.com. And with that, let's dive into the program and take a look at the features gained when upgrading from Home Designer to Chief Architect. Once you start designing in Chief Architect, you're going to be adjusting the default settings to your liking. A few examples of this may be adjusting the wall default settings or adjusting your layout file so that it has a title block that includes your company information. Once you have completed a plan or layout, you can save the settings you've been adjusting as a template so that any new plan or layouts you make going forward use those settings as a starting point. Creating templates is powerful because it saves you time in getting settings configured in future projects. You can create different templates for different purposes, such as having different templates for architectural design styles or different templates for various types of projects, such as new construction or remodel projects. Once you've completed a plan or layout and you want to save its settings as a template, simply go to File, Templates, Save as Template. Pick the information you would like to keep or delete and click on OK. And then next pick a good location on your computer to save the template and give it a unique name. And then next, if you get into the Program Preferences, under the New Plans panel, there's an option for Plan Template and Layout Template, and here you can browse to that file, select it, and then click on OK. And then for every new plan or layout going forward, it'll be using that template that you specified. Chief Architect gains a wide variety of features for managing layers. Towards the top right hand corner of the screen, there's a button here that says Active Layer Display Options. This button is sometimes referred to as the Aldo, and when I select it, it opens up a side window where you can see all of the different layers being used in the plan. If I select on an object in the plan, such as our dimension, it'll show what layer this dimension is on. Chief Architect also lets you create new layers and reassign layers that objects are on. Notice in the Aldo, I have a handful of different layers for dimensions. These layers are custom created, and as I develop dimensions throughout the plan, I can assign them to these different custom layers and turn them on and off as needed. Let's take a look at an example of creating custom layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to our Layer Display Options button in the top toolbar, and this button is present in Home Designer Pro, but you gain some new options in this dialog for creating new layers and copying existing layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to our dimensions, select a dimension layer, and press Copy, and then select it and then give it a new name. For this example, I'm going to call this layer Dimensions Example, and then click on OK. And then in our Active Layer Display Options side window, you can see that layer present. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a new dimension through our plan. And for the purpose of this example, I'm just going to select our dimension tool, select our interior dimension, and draw a dimension through this room. And then I'm going to double click on this dimension to open up its specification. And then in Chief Architect, you gain a new panel here that says Layer. And then you can see the layer that this dimension is on, and then just using the drop down, you can switch it to a different layer, and then click on OK. And there you can see that dimension is still in the plan, and if I select it, it's on that other layer, which we can turn on and off as desired. Another layer feature available in Chief Architect is the ability to create layer sets, which lets you create pre-saved configurations of layers that are already turned on or off and that can quickly be switched between. At the top of the active layer display options, there's a section here that says layer sets, and you can see that I'm currently in the working layer set, which is a good layer set for just general all-around design work. If I select from the drop-down, notice that I have a handful of layer sets already in my plan, and when you switch layer sets, some layers are going to get turned off and other layers are going to get turned on. Watch what happens in the plan as I switch to the electrical layer set. Layers related to our electrical items got turned on, while other layers got turned off. Similarly, watch what happens when I switch from the electrical layer set to the kitchen and bath layer set. The electrical layers got turned off, while our layers related to kitchen and bath design got turned back on. Additionally, individual layers can display differently for each layer set. Let's turn back on that dimensions example layer that we created earlier, which was currently turned off for our kitchen and bath layer set. So you can see that this layer has a blue color and it has a solid line style. These properties are unique to this layer on this layer set. For example, if we were to change this layer from having a blue color to being a black color, and from using a solid line style to using a dashed line style, these new properties for our dimensions example layer will only be tied with this layer on our kitchen and bath layer set. So watch what happens to this layer as I switch from our kitchen and bath layer set to our working layer set. The styling properties for our dimensions example layer change to be a blue color and a solid line style, since these properties for this layer are tied to the working layer set. Having layers display differently for each layer set is beneficial because when you create construction documents, you may want objects to display a certain way for a given view, and this is possible with advanced layer controls in Chief Architect. Once you've configured your layers and layer sets to your liking, you can save them in your template plan so that they're available for every project going forward. Now that we've looked at some of the layer and layer set features gained in Chief Architect, let's look at some of the dimensioning features gained in Chief. I'm first going to close the active layer display options. We can always reopen it again in the future by pressing the button in the corner. And then I'm going to go up to my default settings, and I'm going to select the drop down for dimension and click on where it says dimensions. This is going to open up my list of saved dimension defaults, and you can see that I have a variety of saved dimension defaults and my overall dimension defaults are currently active. And dimension defaults are pre-saved settings for how you want the dimensioning tools to behave for a given task. For example, I'm in my overall dimension defaults, which is a good general dimension default to use for overall floor plan development and drafting. But if I was working on an electrical plan, I would switch from the overall dimension defaults to our electrical dimension defaults, and that's going to tell the program that I want the tools to be focused specifically on drafting an electrical plan. If we click on Edit to look at this further, you can see that there's options for locate manual, locate end-to-end, and so forth, and these correspond with the tools over in the toolbar on the left. For example, the locate centerline panel tells the program how you want the centerline dimension tool to work, and currently we're going to have it picking up electrical objects, and it's going to be not picking up objects like framing, shapes, openings, furniture, and so forth. Additionally, you can specify the format you would like the unit of measurements to display in, and you can see in this electrical dimension default I have it specified to be in feet and inches. However, if I was working on a kitchen and bath plan, I'd probably be using the kitchen and bath dimension defaults, which are going to be displaying in inches. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that you can specify what layer you would like the dimensions to come in on when you have a dimension default activated. So with the electrical dimension defaults activated, when I use one of my dimensioning tools, they're going to come in on the dimensions electrical layer. I'm going to cancel out of the electrical dimension defaults, and the next features I want to go over that are gained in Chief Architect are more automatic dimensioning features. Automatic dimension features are powerful because they can save time in dimensioning spaces while ensuring accurate dimensions. Let's start by looking at features for dimensioning interior spaces, and then we will look at the auto story pull dimension feature, which is available in Chief Architect Premiere. I'm going to switch my currently active dimension default to the kitchen and bath dimension default, which will be more appropriate for dimensioning interior spaces, such as having the formatting in inches. And I'm going to click on OK and then Done. Next, I'm going to focus in on a room that I want to dimension, such as this bathroom over here. And if I click once in the middle, there's an option in the bottom toolbar down here that says NKBA Auto Dimension. What this will do is it will place dimensions with formatting based on my active dimension default, so that kitchen and bath dimension default that's formatted in inches, and Chief will automatically place dimensions that locate wall surfaces and window and door casings, fixture center lines, and wall length. So I'm going to click on the NKBA Auto Dimension button, and I'm going to specify yes that I want to turn on the dimensions in kitchen and bath layer. And you can see how Chief has added those dimensions to this room, and these dimensions are customizable. So if you select once on a dimension, you'll see little handles going throughout it that you can click and remove dimension points or add dimension points using the extra diamond handle on the dimension line. Additionally, Chief Architect also gains a feature to automatically dimension wall elevations. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get into a wall elevation by going up to our orthographic view tools and then select on wall elevation and click and drag an elevation pointing at the sink wall. And then next, if I go up to my automatic dimension tools, there's an option right here that says NKBA Auto Elevation Dimension, and when I click on it, it's going to place dimensions going around this view. And there I've got those dimensions added, and again, these dimensions are fully customizable, and you can also use your text tools to further notate this view. Let's go ahead and close out of this view. Chief Architect also gains an auto story pull dimensioning feature. I'm going to zoom out of my view a little bit, and I'm going to select our cross-section elevation tool and take an elevation of the back of the house. This elevation comes in on a layer set, and again, you can adjust what layers you want to turn on or off to your liking. And then to generate story pull dimensions, go up to your automatic dimension tools, and there's an option right here for auto story pull dimensions. You can get into your default settings before you create the story pull dimension and specify what type of locations in your view you would like the dimension tool to pick up. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to select the tool. And Chief is automatically going to add story pull dimensions going around the outside. These dimensions are customizable, so again, you can select them and edit them to your liking. If you're happy with how this view looks, you can save it and then close out of it, and then you can always reopen it again by double clicking on the call out down below. And those are going to be some of the key dimensioning features gained in the Chief Architect line of software. One other thing I wanted to talk about is if we open up our default settings and then go down to dimensions and then double click on dimensions, recall how we can create save dimension defaults, and we have a handful of dimension defaults for different purposes. You can create defaults for other tools as well. So in this example, we have dimension defaults created, but if we cancel out of this and then go down to text and look at our rich text tool, you can see that I have a handful of saved rich text defaults created, so that when we're working on an electrical plan, for example, and we use the rich text tool, any rich text we add will come in based on a specified font and font size and on the text electrical layer. Let's cancel out of this. So that's the saved rich text defaults, and then you can create defaults for a variety of other tools, just our regular text tool, callouts, markers, notes, and more. It is important to understand the basics of how you can create defaults of your various tools in the software, because it leads into our next major feature gained in Chief Architect, which is called Plan Views. Plan Views are a powerful efficiency feature that changes many program settings and defaults all at once to make working on specific tasks efficient while also developing your construction documents. Plan Views also change your layer set along with other settings so that as you change Plan Views, what you see on your screen changes as well. At the top of my screen, notice that there is a drop-down right here that says Working Plan View. The Working Plan View is focused on general design and drafting work, and you can see what settings are associated with this plan view by clicking on the Edit button to the left of it. Here you can see the plan view name, and you can also tell plan views to remember any specific floor level that you would like. Plan views can also change how pony walls display in your view. And then under the Selected Defaults panel on the left-hand side, you can see what selected defaults you currently have active. Earlier, remember we changed our dimension defaults to the kitchen and bath dimension defaults, but you can adjust this here by just selecting the drop-down and then changing to a different dimension default. Additionally, you can tie a layer set to your plan view, and you can see that I have the working layer set tied to the working plan view. And then you can also set up the reference display for this plan view, which we'll talk about later in the session. Let's click OK to this, and then let's change from our working plan view to our electrical plan view and see how this compares. You'll notice immediately in our plan that the view changed because the layer set changed. And if we click on the Edit Plan View button, you can see that we have that saved plan view name specified as electrical plan view. And if we click on Selected Defaults, you can see that all of the defaults for the various tools are selected to be working on an electrical plan. And let's look at one more quick example. I'm going to cancel out of this and then switch from our electrical plan view to our kitchen and bath plan view, and then click on the Edit button. And you can see if we click on Selected Defaults that all of our selected defaults for the tools are set up to be working on kitchen and bath plans. To reiterate, plan views are an extremely powerful feature because it quickly reconfigures the notation tools in Chief for working on specific plans and developing layouts sheets. Let's go ahead and cancel out of this, and next look at layout sheets. To create a layout sheet, go up to File and then New Layout. Earlier in the session, we created a layout template based on a previously completed project. This allowed us to save and reuse specific information as a starting point for this layout and any future layouts we create. Layout files in Home Designer Pro only allow for a single page, meaning if your construction documents will have multiple pages, you will need to create and manage multiple layout files on your computer, and each layout file will produce its own PDF. A feature gained in Chief Architect is for multi-page layouts. At the top of my layout, there's a toggle here to allow you to quickly navigate between various pages. I'm currently on my page 1, but if I go to page 2, you can see I have it set up for a site plan, page 3 a landscape plan, page 4 elevations, and so forth. Additionally, layouts in Chief Architect have a page 0, meaning any information you put on this page will be reflected across all pages. For example, you may want to include your company logo or other project information in the title block to be reflected across all pages. The workflow for taking information from the model and assembling it into construction documents is very streamlined in Chief Architect. Let's go to page 2 of our layout, where you can see I have it specified to be a site and disturbance plan. If I go back to our plan file, and then I switch my plan view from the kitchen and bath plan view to the plot plan view, you can see my view significantly changes, and I'm ready to send this view to our layout sheet. So I'm just going to press the Send to Layout button. Next, you can specify the scale that you want to use, and I'm going to adjust that slightly here. And then click on OK. And then the view will be on your layout sheet, and then you can select it and then move it to where you would like it positioned on the layout. If we look at the next page of my layout, you can see I have that set up for a landscape plan. So in my plan file, I would change to the appropriate plan view and then send that over. On page 4 of our layout, I have it set up for exterior elevations. So let's take a look at how this works. Again, I'm going to go back to our Chief Architect file, and I'm going to switch to our working plan view. And then recall that earlier in this session we created an elevation with dimensions. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And then if you're ready to send this view to the layout sheet, click on the Send to Layout button. And then again, you can specify the settings for how you would like that set over. And then I'm going to click on OK. And then again, just reposition that as needed. And then one other feature I wanted to mention that you gain in Chief Architect is the ability to rescale views directly on your layout sheet. If I select this elevation, there's a button here that we gain in Chief Architect in that bottom toolbar that says Rescale Layout View. So if you click on that, here you can change the scale to something new. Additional layout features that are gained in Chief Architect include revision clouds, revision tables, opening multiple layout files simultaneously, using text macros to streamline information across your different layout pages, and more, all of which can contribute to saving hours of time creating construction documents. I'm back in the plan file, and next I wanted to review features gained in Chief Architect for creating details about the model. If I go up to the CAD menu, down towards the lower half of the menu, there's going to be a handful of new features that become available in Chief Architect. The first feature I wanted to review is this option that says CAD Detail Management. Here you can see I have a handful of CAD details and other pieces of information already created about this model. Let's select this first option and click on Open to take a look at what this means. When I click on Open there, Chief opened up a new tab in the program, and in this tab I've already created a handful of CAD details. If you look at our toolbar, all of the architectural tools are disabled and our CAD-based tools are activated. Using these CAD-based tools, you can just click and freehand draw CAD to create these details. Additionally, if we open up the library browser on the right-hand side, in Chief Architect Premiere, you gain an option right here that says CAD Blocks, and here is where you can see the CAD details that ship with the program. You can take these pre-made CAD details and edit them to your liking and then send them to your layout sheet. Additionally, if you've edited a CAD detail to your liking, you can save those edits so that that edited CAD detail is there and readily available in future plans. If we collapse the core catalogs and then go down to the bonus catalogs, you can see that there's an option here that says CAD Blocks and Details, and here's where you can see more CAD details that are available for download from the Chief Architect 3D library. Additionally, you can create CAD details directly based on the model. I'm going to go ahead and close our library browser, and then I'm going to close out of our details, and then the next thing I'm going to do is take a section view through our model. So I'm going to go up to our camera tools, select the back clipped cross section tool, and create a section view going through our stairs. Next, there's several ways you can detail out this view. The first way is if we go up to CAD, in Chief Architect Premiere you gain a feature that says CAD Detail from View. What this will do is instead of it being an editable 3D model, it'll convert it just to CAD lines that you can then edit and add other pieces of information using the CAD tools. Let's close this CAD detail so that we're looking at the cross-section view of the live model. And then using our CAD tools, we could detail out this cross-section. If I go back up to the CAD option, there's a feature right here that says Auto Detail. And when I select it, what's going to happen is Chief is going to add CAD fills to various pieces of information throughout our model. So let's go ahead and click on it. And you can see that Chief has added concrete CAD fills wherever that's needed. It's added fills about our wall types, insulation, and so forth. Additionally, you can continue using the dimensioning and text tools and CAD tools to detail out this cross-section however you want to, so that eventually it looks something like this that's available for your completed layout sheets. The next feature gained in Chief Architect I wanted to go over is the ability to create schedules. As you're creating your model using the tools in the software, such as the walls, doors, windows, cabinets, and so forth, Chief is keeping track of these objects and how you edit them and can display these objects in a schedule at any time. Most people add their schedules in the CAD Detail Management section of the software, as it's a convenient way to keep your schedules organized. If we go up to CAD and then down to CAD Detail Management, you can see that I have a handful of schedules already in a plan. Let's take a look at the schedule feature by clicking on New and then just creating a new CAD detail, and we'll call it Schedules. Next, to create a schedule, go up to Tools, Schedules, and then place a schedule. I'm going to go ahead and place a cabinet schedule, and then I'm just going to click once to place it. And you can see how Chief added that schedule in. There's a lot of pieces of information you can choose to include or exclude in our schedule. And if we double click on this schedule, there's a lot of categories right here, and to add categories you can simply select one of these categories and then add it, or select one of these categories from the other side and remove it. You can adjust your schedules to contain different types of objects, which can be useful in a variety of scenarios, such as when creating a remodeling schedule. Additionally, you can select one of these rows, and then down in the bottom toolbar there's an option to open the row object, where you can directly open up that object and make any modifications you would like to from here. Down on the Object Information panel is where you can add more information about this particular object, which means that when you create your schedule, you can specify the information that goes in the columns, and then you can also create new columns with different pieces of information. There's also a panel here on your different objects that say Schedule, where you can specify what type of schedule you would like this object to be included in. If we cancel out of this, there's also a nice feature down here that says Find Object in Plan, and when you select it, Chief is going to find where that particular object is located in the plan. In this example, I have that exact same cabinet twice in the plan. If we click on the schedule, at the top of each column there's a little square handle. If you select and hold these square handles, you can rearrange the order that the columns display in. Similarly, notice at the start of each row that there's a square handle. Just like with the columns, you can select and hold these square handles and rearrange the order that the cabinets display in the schedule. When you initially add objects to your plan, the object is assigned a label with a nomenclature based on the object specification. In Chief Architect, you gain the ability to display a callout with a number that correlates to the object in the schedule instead of displaying a label. If we double click on the schedule to open up its specification, and we go down to the Labels panel, there's a checkbox here that says Use Callout for Label. Having this checked will replace the traditional cabinet label with a callout shape assigned a number to the cabinets in the plan view. And here you can see and adjust the schedule prefix and the shape of the callout that will be used in the floor plan. If we click OK to this and switch back to my floor plan view, and then switch to the kitchen and bath plan view, I have the cabinet labels layer turned on in this plan view, which allows us to see the callout that matches with the item in the schedule. And once you have your schedules developed, you can click the Send to Layout button and send them to your layout sheet, or you can also export your schedules to use in other programs in a variety of common file types. And lastly, once you have your schedule set up to your liking, if you've been creating them in the CAD Detail Management section of the software, you can save them in your template plan so that for any new plans you start going forward, your schedules are already being developed and are ready to go. The next feature I wanted to go over that's gained in Chief Architect is the Project Browser side window. Off towards the top right hand side, I have a button right here that says Project Browser, and if I click on it, it's going to open up the Project Browser side window where you can view any plan or layout files you have open. If I extend this plan file, here you can see various views and pieces of information in this file. If we start at the top and look at the CAD details, you can see all of the details that I've created, and if I select on this first one, you can see those details down below. Additionally, if you double click on it, it'll open up a new tab where you can directly make the modifications that you would like to. Let's go ahead and close this tab, and then if we move down this list, you can see any saved cameras that you have saved in the plan. And we'll go over the camera tools and 3D rendering here in a little bit. You can see any elevations or cross sections you've already created. You can see your various floor levels. If you had a saved materials list, you can view that here. You can see the various plan views that you've created. And if you right click on one of these plan views and click on Edit View, you can see the settings that you have affiliated with that plan view along with the selected defaults. You can view any schedules that you've created and then any wall framing details, which we'll go over more in a little bit. Let's open up the completed layout file for this project. And then I'm going to collapse our plan file. And here you can see all the pages of the layout that I've created, and you can reorder these pages just by selecting them and dragging them around. So that's the project browser side window. It's a convenient tool to quickly access, edit, or view pieces of information or views in your plan or layout files. The next features I wanted to review that are gained in Chief Architect Premiere are the framing features, starting with header framing controls. If we double click on one of these windows to open up a specification, and then we go down to the framing panel, you gain a lot of options in Chief Architect Premiere to control the header spacing, the header placement, and whether you would like to combine headers when they're close to other openings. You can see on this window that we have selected, I've specified a 3-ply header and that I have them evenly spaced apart. This differs from our second window, and if we cancel out of the first window and open up the second window's specification, you can see that I have a 2-ply header, and instead of having them evenly spaced apart, I have them spaced 1 inch from each other. Additionally, in Chief Architect Premiere, you can specify whether you would like the header placed flush against the exterior edge of the wall, like I have with this window, or whether you would like it flush against the interior edge, like I have with this window. You can also control whether headers build directly over the top of the opening, like we have with this window, or whether they build over the top of the wall, like we have with this window. You can also have openings share a header at the top of the wall when the openings are within a specified distance of one another. If we cancel out of this dialog and shift our focus a little bit towards the window and the door at the end, you can see that the header is building at the top of the wall across the two openings. If we double click on the window and then we go down to the framing panel, you can see I have the window building at the top of the wall, and I have the option checked to combine headers when both the window and the door are within 12 inches of each other. I have these same settings specified for the door as well, so that when I built the framing, Chief built one header going over both the door and the window. The next feature gained in Chief Architect Premiere is the ability to define the framing assembly for how your floor, ceiling, and roof structures should build. If we go up to the default settings and then go down to floors and rooms and double click floor ceiling platform, here you can specify how Chief should be constructing the ceiling or floor platform. If we go to this option that says floor structure and click on edit, this dialog is going to look similar in the middle here to Home Designer Pro, but what you gain are these buttons off to the right hand side to insert or delete layers into your floor or ceiling structure. Additionally, you can insert energy values for the floor structure, and you can insert energy values throughout other areas of the software, such as adding U values or solar heat coefficient values into Windows, and you can export these pieces of information into ResCheck to perform an energy analysis. Additionally, instead of having fur framing, if we double clicked on this and we changed our framing material to be a steel framing material, and then clicked on OK. Down below, instead of specifying that you want to use an I-joist, two new options that you gain in Chief Architect Premiere are the ability to specify a U-channel or a C-channel. And then also there's a checkbox right here for insulation, and when checked and when you take an elevation or backlipped view and you use the auto detailing feature, Chief will add fill for insulation in the appropriate cavities. Similarly, if we cancel out of this and then we go down to our roof defaults and then go down to the structure panel, here you have an option that says structure, and if you click on edit Again, you can add or delete layers from your roof structure, specify what type of framing they're going to be, and mark them as insulated. Other roof features gained in Chief Architect Premier are the ability to specify the end profile of exposed rafter tails, the ridge cap profile, and the profile being used for gutters, the frieze, and shadow bores if you would like to include any of these options. Let's go ahead and cancel out of this so that we're back in the plan. And the next feature I wanted to talk about is the ability to automatically create wall framing details in Chief Architect Premier. If I click on this wall for our large garage bay, in the bottom toolbar right here there's a button that says Wall Detail. Chief is going to open up a framing detail of just this wall. I've already gone ahead and added these dimensions into this wall framing detail, but here you could further notate your views as you need to, and all these framing members are editable. So if you wanted to select them, copy them, and then move them around, or you could delete framing members if you wanted to, you have full control of that here. And any changes you make in this wall framing detail will be reflected throughout all areas of the model. These wall framing details can also be sent to your layout sheet, and if we take a look at the framing page of a completed layout, you can see that there's a framing elevation of the front of the house, and more information on how to create a framing elevation like this is available on the website. Additionally, if you have framed your roof system using trusses, you can select any truss and create a truss framing detail that is fully editable, just like we did for the wall framing detail. Let's go ahead and minimize this layout view and close this wall framing detail. The next feature gained in Chief Architect Premier is control over the method used to calculate framing members in the materials list. If we go up to Tools and then down to Materials List, there's an option here that says Structural Member Reporting. When you select this, you can see that you have a few different available reporting methods, and down below you can see the currently active reporting method. This option here is essentially all that's available in Home Designer Pro, but in Chief Architect Premier you gain full control over these tables, and you can edit, copy, or rename, or import or export your framing member reporting tables. If we click on our buy list and click on edit, you can see all the available board sizes Chief can use to generate a framing materials list. Off to the right hand side, you can add new board sizes into this list, and if you select on one of these boards, you can edit it, delete it, or increase or decrease the priority of the board size. When you generate a materials list, Chief is first going to look at the framing in the plan and look at the available board sizes in this list and report any boards that are an exact match. For example, if we had an 8-foot long 2x6 stud in the plan, Chief is going to go down this list, find the 8-foot long 2x stud in this list, and report that and any information affiliated with it into the materials list. Second, any boards in your plan that do not have an exact match with any boards in this table, Chief will find the first board in this table that can accommodate the board in the plan. For example, if I had a 2x6 that was 9 foot long in the plan, Chief is going to go down this table, recognize that the first board that can accommodate a 2x6 that's 9 foot long is this 10 foot long 2x6, and report this and its information into the materials list. In that example of the 9-foot long board, if I would prefer that Chief would report that as needing a 12-foot long board in the materials list, I can increase the priority of that 12-foot long board and then generate my materials list, and when Chief tries to find a board with the appropriate length to accommodate that size, it'll look at that 12-foot long board first and report that in the materials list. Additionally, Chief will also consolidate boards of various lengths while taking into account the kerf width. Additionally, there are other controls for how wall plates and girts, deck planking, rim joists, and other framing members will report in the materials list. You can report the actual length of the board. You can report the total linear length, where Chief just adds up the length of all the individual long run boards and reports that in the materials list. Or you can use the longest by list board, where Chief calculates the total linear length and reports the number of boards needed based on the longest length board you have in the table. For this particular plan that we've been viewing, I know that the rooms are using 10-foot high ceilings, requiring a stud that is 116 and 5/8 inches long. I'm going to go ahead and add this to our materials list by clicking on New, reporting that I want a 2 by 6, and then typing in my desired length. And then earlier today I was on a lumber website and I saw a board of that length cost almost $22, so I'm going to enter in that price here and click on OK. And then I'm going to make sure I increase the priority of it so Chief reads that instead of our 12-foot long board for our wall studs. And then I'm going to click on OK, and then click on OK again. Next, I'm going to generate our materials list by going up to Tools, Materials List, Calculate Materials for all floors. This is going to calculate a materials list for the entire plan, and there's several ways you can filter the materials list here just to see the framing. If you open up the active layer display options, you can sort the materials list based on the active layer set, but I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Edit View button, and then I'm going to uncheck that I do not want to include these categories, so that all I see is the framing category. So I'm going to clear all, select framing, and then click on OK. And here I've got a framing materials list based on that buy list table we made that slight adjustment to. And if we take a look at it, you can see that 9'8" and 5/8 long board, the price affiliated with it, and the total cost for that lumber. And it looks like that same board length is being used for some of our plates. And you can see the total for the framing down below. And that summarizes the structural member reporting tool gained in Chief Architect Premier and how it can be a powerful tool for generating a framing materials list. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. And if you wanted to save the materials list at this point, you could. And let's say you made modifications to the plan and wanted to rerun the materials list. You could compare this materials list to any new materials list that you would create. In Home Designer Pro, when you automatically build the framing is built for the entire model. Chief Architect Premier can also automatically build framing for the entire model, but you also gain framing features to auto-build framing for a single wall, room, or roof plane. This is extremely useful in scenarios where you have auto-built the framing for the entire model, made some manual adjustments to the framing, and want to rebuild the framing for certain parts of the model while not overriding your manual adjustments to other parts of the model. Another scenario where this feature is extremely useful is when dealing with remodels and additions where you only want to generate framing for certain parts of the model, which can aid in developing material takeoffs and construction documents. Here I've got a plan open up, and on the right hand side of the plan we have an existing as-built condition, and on the left hand side we've added on an addition composing of a suite and a garage bay. If I want to build the floor joists underneath the suite, I can select these rooms while holding Control, and then in the bottom toolbar there's an option that says Build Framing for Selected Object, and when I select that, the floor framing is going to build, and if I go down to our floor 0 where the floor joists build, in our framing floor plan view you can see where those floor joists are building. Additionally, if we go back up to the first floor, hold our wall tool, and then marquee select by holding Shift on the keyboard and select those walls that I've added, and then select the Build Framing for Selected Object button again, Chief Architect Premier is going to build those wall studs and window headers. And then we can look at this in a 3D framing overview. Additionally, if I wanted to show framing just for the roof, I could select the roof plane and then build the framing for just the roof plane. In Home Designer Pro, there's a feature called the reference display, which allows you to see an outline of where objects are located on other floors. In Chief Architect Premier, the reference display feature gains functionality to make it easier to customize what you're referencing within the same plan, And in Chief Architect Premiere, this feature gains the ability to reference other plans, and it also works in 3D. Let's take a look at this feature. Here I've got just the as-built portion of that previous plan that we were looking at opened, and I also have the full Remodel Edition plan open in a new tab. And in the as-built plan, we can access the reference floor display feature by selecting the middle of our floor level indicator in the top toolbar. And then this will open the reference display, and here you can see the current floor that we're on, and then down below you have the reference display options. Here you can see the current plan that we have open, the floor level we have open, and then the layer set that we have activated. On the next line is where you can change what you're referencing. You can see that I have a reference set up to reference our remodel plan. You can choose the floor that you would like to reference in that other plan, and then the layer set that you would like to reference. Additionally, you can add more references or rearrange the order that the references display in. So let's go ahead and select the Show Reference Floor option and click OK. And now it's very easy to see where those changes are going to occur. This feature also works in 3D, so let's go up to our camera tools, and I'm going to select the Perspective Floor Overview. And that's going to bring up a 3D overview of our as-built plan. And then to add a reference, again, go up to the Reference Display option, and then make sure you check the Show Reference option, and I'm choosing the remodel plan. I'm using the camera view layer set, and then you can select whether you're using the glass house rendering technique or the standard rendering technique. Let's go ahead and make sure we have the glass house rendering technique selected and click on OK. And now we have a 3D reference to the other plan, and it's extremely easy to see where the additions in the plan are going to occur. The next feature I wanted to go over is the automatic tray ceiling feature, which is a quick way to add unique character to your designs. Tray ceilings come in automatically based on your tray ceiling default settings at a specified size and can include moldings, rope lights, and varying materials for the sides or top. Here I am in a plan, and there's several ways to add a tray ceiling. I'm going to click in the room, and in the bottom toolbar an option becomes available that says Make Tray Ceiling in Room. When I click that option, it's going to open up the tray ceiling specification, and the settings that are initially displayed are going to be based on your default settings. These settings are going to ask you how you want to build your tray ceiling. Here you can specify the width and the depth of the tray ceiling and the pitch of the sides of it. So if you wanted the sides to be angled, you can specify that here. Next, you can specify material options for the side and top of the tray ceiling. In Chief Architect Premiere, you can specify framing options for the tray ceiling. And then on the left-hand side, you can specify whether you would like to include a molding with your tray ceiling. And you can see that I already have a molding picked out. You can specify whether you would like to have rope lights in your tray ceiling. And then down on the materials panel, you can pick the various materials that are going to be used for the tray ceiling. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And there you can see how the tray ceiling came in with my selected molding, rope light, and material for the top of the tray ceiling. Tray ceilings are smart in that they know that the position of lights in the ceiling will need to be adjusted to account for the change in ceiling height. And you can see in my plan that the can and pendant lights have been repositioned into the tray ceiling. Let's reposition our 3D view so that it's side by side with our floor plan view by going up to Window and then Tile vertically. And tray ceilings are polygon-based objects, which makes it very easy to select them and then resize them as needed, and you can also use your dimensioning tools when resizing them. Additionally, if you wanted to make multiple tray ceilings within the room, you can select the tray ceiling and then select your copy button and then paste a copy of it wherever you need to. With the tray ceiling selected, there's an option down here in the bottom toolbar that says Make Nested Tray Ceiling. And when I select it, what's going to happen is the program's going to make another tray ceiling within this tray ceiling, but at a higher depth. So let's select on the Make Nested Tray Ceiling option. And then again, you can specify how you want that second tray ceiling to come in and click on OK. And then if you look over here in our 3D view, you can see how that nested tray ceiling came into the design. Let's select both of these tray ceilings and delete them. There's also some other ways to add tray ceilings into the design. If we go back up to the Build menu and then go down to Roof, there's an option here that says Tray Ceiling Polyline, which just allows you to click and drag and place a tray ceiling wherever you would like. Additionally, as you can see in the title here, tray ceilings are a polyline-based object, meaning you can just select your CAD tools and then click and add CAD wherever you would like. And then with the CAD selected, in the bottom toolbar there's an option here that says Convert Polyline. When you select that, it's going to bring up the Convert Polyline dialog, which allows you to convert it into a 3D object. This dialog looks and behaves similarly to how it does in Home Designer Pro, but you gain a lot more options, such as the tray ceiling option, which we're going to use now, the Polyline Solid tool, which is just a generic 3D modeling tool that we'll look at later. You also gain options for creating roads and sidewalks, a material region, a materials list based on a polyline, and then options for choosing the layer that the converted object will come in on. We're going to go ahead and select the tray ceiling option and click on OK, and then accept our settings, and you can see how that tray ceiling got added to the plan just based on our CAD shape. Support and software assurance, often referred to as SSA, is a service that's included for 1 year when upgrading from Home Designer to Chief Architect that covers program upgrades, priority technical support, downloading additional library catalogs, and discounts on training and additional licenses. Support and software assurance is a tremendous value and is the easiest way to stay current with all the newest software tools and features, while having access to over 130,000 library items, including over 40,000 library items exclusive to the Chief Architect line. If you hover over the User Center tab at the top of the website and select Catalog Downloads, you can access the Chief Architect 3D library, where you can view all of the additional catalogs. Some of these bonus catalogs may have a price next to them. With support and software assurance, most of these catalogs are provided at no additional charge. Some catalogs will say SSA only. This means that these catalogs are only available for the Chief Architect line with active SSA. And using the filters in the top right-hand corner, you can see which catalogs are available for each program. And some of the key catalogs worth mentioning that are only available for the Chief Architect line include access to manufacturer cabinets, over 500 pre-made CAD details, access to window manufacturers, and extended plant selection, and more. In Chief Architect, you gain many cabinetry design features, starting with the ability to design cabinetry using manufacturer catalogs. To design a cabinet using manufacturer content, first download the catalog from the Chief Architect 3D library and import it into the program. Then, in the library browser, expand the manufacturer catalogs folder and navigate down to your cabinetry manufacturer where you will see their offerings. In Chief Architect, what makes a cabinet a manufacturer cabinet is taking content from the manufacturer and applying it to the cabinet. So in this example, I'm going to expand the door styles folder where you can see I have a variety of door styles, and I'm just going to find a door style that I would like to use, and I'm going to select it and then come over to the plan, and notice how my mouse cursor changes, and when I come over to the cabinet I can click once and apply it to the cabinet, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the drawer. If I wanted to use any moldings or trim, I could select it and apply it to the cabinet. And then next you can expand the wood species and finishes folder and pick a wood species from the manufacturer that you would like to use and then apply it to the cabinet. And then you can pick a finish and blend it with the wood species. Next, if we double click on the cabinet to open up its specification, there's a lot of settings gained in Chief Architect that can be adjusted to design the cabinetry. I'm going to go over some of these settings starting on the box construction panel. If you're using a framed cabinet like I am, in Chief Architect you can extend the left or right style by a set number of inches. Next, if we rotate our little 3D previews that we're looking at the bottom of the cabinet, you have an option in Chief Architect to specify whether you would like to include or exclude a top or a bottom. And if we rotate our little 3D preview, under the option that says Cabinet Corner Treatment, here you can specify whether your cabinet corners are going to be rounded or clipped and the corner width amount. Let's go ahead and undo our cabinet corner treatment by bringing it back to none, and then bringing back our left style extend to 0 inches. And moving down to the front sides back panel on the left hand side over here, you gain the ability to design the back, left, or right hand sides of the cabinet, which is useful in designing cabinets with end panels, pass-throughs, or other unique custom cabinetry. In the 3D preview, if we select on this cabinet door, on the option that says Appliance Door Drawer, a button becomes available here that says Specify. If we select this button, here you can specify more information about this particular door and what's going on behind it. In Chief Architect, you gain this option here that says Overlap. You'll recall this cabinet's door and drawer is using a full overlay style, but if we were using a traditional overlay, here you can get very specific with how much this door is overlapping each side of the face frame. Closing out of this, with this cabinet having a full overlay style, another feature gained in Chief Architect is the ability to adjust the reveal amount on the left or right side. If we move down to the Accessories panel, some other features gained in Chief Architect are the ability to add pilasters, feet, which can be useful when designing vanity, and choose the panel style being used on end panels. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. Next, if I'm happy with this cabinet, with the cabinet selected, in the bottom toolbar there's a button available that says Set as Default. This Set as Default feature becomes available in Chief Architect, and when I click it, we're going to get a message that says the base cabinet defaults have been updated, and whenever I add a base cabinet into the plan, it's going to be based off of these default settings. And this Set as Default feature is available with other objects in Chief Architect, such as windows and doors. Another cabinetry feature gained in Chief Architect is cabinet filler tools. If you have a small space between cabinets or between a cabinet and other objects, you can go up to your cabinetry tools, select the appropriate cabinet filler tool, and then click between the cabinets or between the cabinet and the other object, and Chief will place a filler in that space. Another cabinetry feature gained in Chief Architect is the ability to dimension cabinet face items and cabinet openings, and more information about how to do that is available on the website. And as mentioned earlier, once you have these cabinets added into your design, you can create cabinetry schedules and automatically dimension elevation views to NKBA standards, in addition to other kitchen, bath, and cabinetry design features gained in Chief Architect. The next features I wanted to review are the Polyline Solid and Symbol tools, which are generic 3D modeling tools that allows you to create objects of any size, shape, and material. Your client may request something unusual, or you may have a unique design in mind. Using the Polyline Solid tool, you can model any custom design elements such as timber frame trusses, interior furniture or accessories, hardware, exterior design elements, and more. Once you have created a Polyline Solid, you can save it to your user library and use it in future designs. You can also convert Polyline Solids into symbols, which then allows you to integrate the custom object with the smart features in Chief. In this example, I've created a custom handle for cabinet doors or drawers using the Polyline Solid tool, and I would like to use this hardware with the cabinetry features in Chief. You can select this Polyline Solid and press the Convert to Symbol button in the bottom toolbar, where you can then give the symbol a name and assign it to a symbol category, which is how you integrate it with the smart features in Chief. In this case, I'm going to tell Chief that this is hardware, which will allow me to apply it to the cabinet door and drawer. I'm going to click on OK, which will add it to my user library. And then with that door pull selected, I can simply come over to my cabinet and replace the current hardware on the cabinet. For more information and examples on polyline solids and symbols, please see the Chief Architect website. Chief Architect gains many significant 3D rendering features to communicate designs with your clients. Here I am in a 3D view of a kitchen in the standard rendering technique. If I go up to the toolbar and select the Rendering Techniques button, we can change the rendering technique we are currently in or make adjustments to the current technique by selecting the Technique Options button. One of the features gained in Chief Architect for the standard rendering technique is the ability to overlay a line drawing on top of the render. This adds a significant level of detail to the render and can make the render appear more sharp. The next rendering feature gained in Chief Architect is physically based ray tracing, often referred to as real-time ray tracing. Real-time ray tracing performs an advanced calculation of how light interacts with materials to generate a photorealistic scene. In this example, notice how the stainless steel fridge or the light coming through the front doors onto the floor looks very realistic. Using real-time ray tracing is a great way to show the client what the design will look like in high detail, and if we open up the technique options, you can even overlay a line drawing on top of the ray trace. The next rendering feature gained in Chief Architect is the clay rendering technique. This rendering technique can be used to minimize color distractions while still showing high levels of detail such as reflections. You can choose for this rendering technique to use a solid color for the whole scene, display the layer color, or use the material color. I am choosing to use the layer color, and if we click OK to this dialog and open up our active layer display options, you can see that in the current layer set, my layers are set to a black color. If we select from my layer sets dropdown, I have a layer set specifically for clay rendering that changes the color of all layers to a white color except for the wall cabinets layer, which I have set to a light blue color. Using clay rendering can be a powerful way to focus on important design details while not getting distracted by other aspects of the design. Clay rendering can also be used in remodeling, where you can put objects that are part of a remodel or addition on a unique layer and assign that layer a color so that it stands out. Next, if we switch to the watercolor rendering technique, a feature gained in Chief is the ability to overlay a line drawing on top of the watercolor rendering technique, just like how you can with the standard, physically based ray tracing, and clay rendering techniques. And if we switch down to the line drawing rendering technique, this is what the line drawing we have been overlaying on top of the other rendering techniques looks like without any colors, textures, or other rendering effects taking place. This is more of a traditional rendering technique and is a convenient way to show the client a design without getting distracted by material selections. And last is the dual tone rendering technique, which is a rendering technique that can be used to show a scene using contrasting colors. And that summarizes the rendering features gained in Chief Architect, which are an extremely powerful way to help clients visualize the design. There are many other features gained in Chief Architect that we didn't cover in this session, and a full list of the features gained in Chief Architect is available on the website, as well as a free trial so that you can test and evaluate these features for yourself. When upgrading or trialing Chief Architect, you can open up and continue working on any plans that you've already started in Home Designer while using the added features in Chief Architect. Additionally, when upgrading from Home Designer to Chief Architect, a credit for previously having Home Designer is often available. And if you have any questions about the benefits of upgrading from Home Designer to Chief Architect, our staff is available to answer any questions you have.